Every gardener with a shaded yard has heard the same answer. Shade and fruit do not mix. Move on. That answer is wrong, and the people giving it profit from you believing it. Nurseries stock what photographs well at point of sale. Shade-tolerant fruit plants take years to establish, do not fruit in a 3-inch pot, and once planted, never need replacing. That one purchase ends the relationship. I have reviewed extension trial data and USDA plant records. There is an entire world of fruit that evolved in woodland shade. Plant number 1 is Amelanchier alnifolia Regent, the Saskatoon serviceberry. The most productive shade-fruiting shrub that commercial nurseries quietly stop stocking. The mistake most gardeners make is buying the ornamental species. The tag says serviceberry. What arrives is Amelanchier arborea, bred for flower show at the expense of flavor. The fruit is mealy, and the birds take it first. Picture this. You plant what the nursery sold you on the north side of your garage. Year 1, white flowers in April. Late June, small purple berries. You taste one. Soft, hollow, vaguely sweet, and mostly nothing. Year 2, same result. Year 3, you give up on that corner. You never learn you grew an ornamental selection. What belonged there was Amelanchier alnifolia Regent, selected near Regent, North Dakota for fruit quality. The nursery tag will never tell you this. Regent looks like a plain shrub at point of sale in April. Nurseries default to ornamental selections that photograph well, and the cultivar that actually feeds you disappears from inventory. The correct move: source Amelanchier alnifolia Regent specifically. Cold hardy to USDA Zone 2. Penn State Extension documents it as an understory species tolerating genuine shade while fruiting. In Zone 3, plant on a north-facing slope to delay bloom past frost risk. In Zones 7 through 9, morning sun and afternoon shade protects fruit from heat scorch. The bottom line, Amelanchier alnifolia. Regent produces quality edible June berries in Zones 2 through 9 in genuine shade, and every nursery you have visited has probably sold you the wrong species. Serviceberry covers June from the shrub layer, but the next plant produces continuously from late spring through the first hard frost, 5 uninterrupted months in even deeper shade from the same planting. Plant number 2 is Ribes nigrum Ben Sarek, the black currant. And the reason you cannot find it at your local nursery has nothing to do with how it grows. The mistake most gardeners make is treating black currants like blueberries, full sun, well-amended beds, then wondering why the leaves scorch and the yield disappoints. Picture this. You prep your sunniest raised bed for a black currant. Summer, leaves burn pale at the edges. Year 2, a handful of berries. Year 3, you give up. What you missed is that Ribes nigrum is a forest understory species. University of Wisconsin Extension trial research confirms black currant fruits well in partial shade, and in hot summer regions, afternoon shade actually improves berry quality by reducing heat stress. Ben Sarek stays at 3 to 4 feet and is self-fertile. The nursery suppression is specific. Black currants were banned in multiple U.S. states for most of the 20th century as hosts of white pine blister rust. Federal restrictions were lifted in 1966, but many states retain local rules, and nurseries found it easier to stop stocking them than explain the legal complexity. If your state permits them, you have a fruit-producing berries at $12 to $15 per half pint at specialty grocers, thriving in the shade corner everyone gave up on. The correct move: source Ben Sarek for compact habit and self-fertility, or Titania for larger yields. Zones 3 through 8. Plant in dappled to partial shade. Cut 1/3 of the oldest canes to the ground each autumn, the step most growers skip, and the reason their plants yield half of what they should. The bottom line, Ribes nigrum. Ben Sarek produces pounds of berries per bush in genuine shade in zones 3 through 8, and most American gardeners have never grown it because a legal history buried it in nursery inventory. Black currant delivers concentrated flavor from the understory. If what you want is fresh stone fruit, cherries the way they should be, harvested, the next plant is the only cherry the RHS recommends for north-facing walls and still expects a full crop. Plant number 3 is Prunus cerasus morello, the English morello cherry, the only tart cherry the Royal Horticultural Society recommends for north-facing walls and documented partial shade fruiting. The mistake most gardeners make is not trying cherries in shade at all. Every nursery tag says the same. Cherry trees require full sun, minimum 6 to 8 hours. That is true for sweet cherries. For morello, it is not. Picture this. You have a north-facing fence getting 2 hours of direct sun in midsummer. You have been told nothing will fruit there. Year 1 with a morello, modest growth, no expectations. Year 2, scatter of spring blossom. Late July, clusters of deep crimson, nearly black cherries appear along every branch. Tart, wine dark, sharply flavored. Exactly what Black Forest cake is built around. 30 pounds of fruit. From a north-facing fence, the nursery tag will never tell you this. Morello is self-fertile, fan-trainable, and documented by BBC gardeners. World as growing in full sun to partial shade. The RHS, Award of Garden Merit, recognizes it for this shade performance. Most garden center staff do not deliver this information and instead hand you a sweet cherry tag and send you to find a sunny spot. Morello has been grown on north-facing walls in British kitchen gardens for over 400 years. The correct move, source morello on colt rootstock for an 11-foot tree, or Gisela 5 for a 6-foot wall specimen. Zones 4 through 9, fan trained by tying new summer shoots horizontally along the wall. In zones 4 and 5, a brick or stone wall stores heat and protects blossom from late spring frost. The bottom line, Prunus cerasus morello produces 30 to 50 pounds of tart cherries annually and partial to full shade in zones 4 through 9. And it has been doing exactly that in shaded kitchen gardens for 4 centuries. Morello delivers stone fruit from the north wall. The most common shaded position in any garden is ground level, under trees, along a foundation. The next plant was born for that position and documented there since ancient Roman garden records. I want to say something to anyone who has spent real money on a garden that never delivered what the tags promised. That is not because you made wrong choices. It is because the commercial model is built around what sells in April. Subscribe right now because what is coming includes a fruit yielding 1 pound per square foot in your shadiest corner. Plant number 4 is Ribes uvea crispa Porman, the American gooseberry. The Fruit Utah State University Extension recommends specifically as an understory plant in a guide that explicitly names partial shade as a preferred growing condition. The mistake most gardeners make is buying Pixwell. Pixwell is the most commonly stocked gooseberry at American nurseries because it is easy to propagate and ship. Cornell Cooperative Extension has been direct. Pixwell is very productive, but its fruit quality is poor. It exists because it is easy to sell. Picture this. You buy a gooseberry at the garden center. Year 1, compact shrub, a few heavily tart berries. You make jam. It is fine. Year 2, more fruit. Same unexceptional result. You never understand why gooseberries have a reputation for outstanding flavor. Poor Man is a different experience. Utah State Extension documents it as productive and well suited to the home garden, specifying a spot that gets shade during the hottest part of summer, such as the east side of a building. The nursery suppression is simple. Porman requires explaining the variety distinction. That conversation never happens, and Porman stays off the shelf. The correct move, Source Poorman or Invicta for the largest, best flavored fruit. Both are cold hardy to zone 3, tolerating midwinter temperatures of negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit per USU extension data. Plant on the east side of a structure. Poorman left on the bush until fully ripe develops genuine sweetness that Pixwell never achieves at any stage. The bottom line, Ribes Juve Crispa. Poorman produces large, genuinely high-quality fruit in partial shade in zones 3 through 6, and the variety the nursery stocks instead was selected for ease of sale, not quality of harvest. Gooseberry covers the shaded border with decades of productive cropping, but there is a growing position this list has not addressed: ground level directly under dense canopy, where soil stays cool and moist. The next plant has been fruiting in that layer for over 2,000 years. Plant number 5 is Fragaria vesca alexandria, the alpine strawberry, documented in continuous cultivation since ancient Roman garden records, producing fruit in genuine woodland shade for over 2 millennia. The mistake most gardeners make is expecting alpine strawberries to behave like commercial varieties. They plant them, get small fruit, and decide the harvest is not worth the effort, comparing the wrong plants entirely. Picture this: you plant commercial strawberries in partial shade, by midsummer, a flush of mediocre watery fruit, then dormancy. You conclude shade and strawberries are incompatible. Now the other version, you sow Fragaria vesca alexandria from seed in February. By July, those plants produce small, intensely fragrant berries daily. Not a flush, daily, continuously, from late spring through the first hard frost. The nursery will never tell you this because alpine strawberries are grown from seed and do not fit the impulse purchase model. One purchase. Fruit every year. A plant that never needs replacing. Exactly why it is not on the shelf. The correct cultivar: Alexandria, hardy in zones 3 through 9, no runners, all energy to fruit production. Mignonette is the French heirloom alternative with slightly larger fruit. Plant in dappled shade under deciduous trees in cool, moist, humus-rich soil. Space 18 inches apart. The bottom line, Fragaria vesca. Alexandria produces continuously from late spring through frost in zones 3 through 9 under genuine canopy shade, and the nursery does not stock it because once you plant it, you never need to come back. Alpine strawberry saturates the ground layer with continuous summer fruit. Every plant so far produces in cups to pounds. The next plant produces pounds to bushels per bush, and tolerates the wettest shaded corner in your yard. Plant number 6 is Sambucus canadensis. Bob Gordon, the American elderberry, extensively tested by University of Missouri research and documented as one of the highest yielding elderberry cultivars available. The mistake most gardeners make is not growing elderberry or buying ornamental forms like black lace that produce far fewer berries than named fruiting cultivars. Picture this: you plant a single ornamental elderberry in a damp shaded corner that floods every spring. Year 1, attractive shrub, fast growth, flowers but thin crop. Year 2, more flowers, still a light harvest. By year 3, you have a decoration. Compare that to Bob Gordon, discovered wild in Osceola, Missouri in 1999, tested by University of Missouri for producing among the largest, sweetest berries of any American elderberry. Plant Bob Gordon and Adams in that same corner. The nursery suppression, elderberry grows wild along roadsides. The cultivar distinction between Bob Gordon and a generic seedling requires explanation most nurseries skip. Ornamental forms or nothing fill the inventory instead. The correct move: plant at least 2 cultivars, Bob Gordon and Adams or Bob Gordon and Wildwood, within 50 to 60 feet for cross-pollination. Zones 3 through 9. West Virginia University Extension documents tolerance of partial shade in wet soils. Cut the entire plant to the ground each winter to force vigorous new cane growth. The bottom line, Sambucus canadensis. Bob Gordon produces pounds of high-quality berries per bush per season in zones 3 through 9 in partial shade and wet ground, and the cultivar distinction is the entire difference between a decoration and a harvest. Elderberry saturates the wet shaded corner with prolific summer fruit. The next plant extends harvest into late summer with clusters so vivid they look almost artificial. From a shrub so naturally suited to shade, it grew in European forest understories, while recorded gardening history was still young. Plant number 7 is Ribe rubrum Rovada, the red currant. And according to Cornell Cooperative Extension, many people consider Rovada the best red currant cultivar available. Yet you will almost never find it at a mainstream nursery. The mistake most gardeners make is treating red currants as full sun plants. They are native to the understory of northern European forests. Utah State University Extension confirms red currants perform well with morning sun and afternoon part shade, and air temperatures above 85 degrees Fahrenheit damage the plants. This fruit thrives in the conditions nurseries call impossible for fruiting. Picture this. You grow red currants against a south-facing fence in full afternoon sun. The leaves bleach in July. The berries shrivel before ripening. Year 2, same result. Meanwhile, a gardener in Zone 4 in Wisconsin harvests Rovada from the east side of a building on a morning sun only, filling a colander every other day through August. 12 pints of jam from a single season, 2 bushes. The nursery suppression, the legal history of Ribe's restrictions gave nurseries a habit of avoiding currants entirely, persisting long after federal restrictions were lifted in 1966. Generic red currant fills what sparse inventory remains. Not Rovada, with its long-stemmed clusters and late ripening extending the season by 2 weeks. The correct move? Source Rovada specifically. Zones 4 through 8. Plant on the east side of a structure. Self-fertile. Prune by removing all canes older than 3 years. Red currants fruit on 1, 2, and 3-year wood. And leaving 4-year canes is the most common yield-killing mistake home growers make. The bottom line, Ribe's rubrum Rovada is documented by Cornell and Utah State Extension as a top-performing red currant that actively prefers afternoon shade. And the nursery industry rarely stocks it because the legal history of its family kept it off shelves for 50 years. Red currant gives you late summer harvest from the shaded east wall at shrub height. The next plant is a tree, native to eastern North America, producing fruit tasting like banana crossed with mango and vanilla custard, commercially abandoned because it is too perishable to ship. Plant number 8 is Asimina triloba KSU-Atwood, the pawpaw, the largest edible tree fruit native to the continental United States, documented by Kentucky State University research as combining banana, pineapple, and mango flavor in a cold, hardy understory tree growing wild in forest conditions across zones 5 through 8. The mistake most gardeners make is misunderstanding the shade requirement. Cornell Small Farms documents that maximum pawpaw yields occur in full sun. True. But for gardeners with shaded spots they cannot clear, pawpaw and dappled canopy shade still fruits, which is more than any other fruit tree on this list will give you in the same conditions. Picture this. You have a damp corner shaded by an established oak. You plant KSU-Atwood in a second cultivar for cross-pollination. Year 1, small tree, some tip, dieback, normal while the taproot establishes. Year 2, significant growth, no fruit. Year 3, first fruit appears in September. Green, mango-shaped, smelling sweet when squeezed. The flesh is yellow, custardy, with a flavor that genuinely surprises you. Pawpaw does not ship, too perishable to sell. Kentucky State University released KSU-Atwood in 2010 for superior flavor combining banana, pineapple, and mango. Named grafted cultivar producing consistent quality. Plant 2 cultivars for cross-pollination. Hardy to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. USDA. Zones 5 through 8. The bottom line, Asimina triloba, KSU-Atwood produces custard sweet fruit in dappled shade in zones 5 through 8, and it disappeared from commercial availability specifically because the fruit is too perishable for the supply chain, not because it stopped growing. Pawpaw delivers extraordinary fruit from a canopy-shaded tree. If your shade challenge is a property under mature trees, the next plant is the most widely adaptable fruit tree on this list. Self-fertile and documented producing across a 6-week harvest window. Plant number 9 is Morus alba, ex rubra. Illinois, everbearing, the mulberry. One of the most shade-adaptable fruit trees in temperate cultivation. Documented tolerating partial shade while producing a 6-week harvest from late June through early September. The mistake most gardeners make is dismissing mulberry. It is messy. It stains. It drops fruit. All true. And exactly why nurseries stopped stocking it during the 1980s when clean yard culture pushed the industry toward fruitless ornamental varieties. The fruiting mulberry disappeared from mainstream shelves, not because it stopped performing, but because staining became commercially unacceptable. Picture this. You have a garden under mature trees producing deep shade most of the day. Illinois everbearing, a natural hybrid of Morus alba and Morus rubra, hardy to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit, grows 3 to 5 feet per year and fruits in partial shade. Year 3 after planting, 15 feet tall. Late June, elongated blackberry-shaped berries 1.5 inches long, intensely sweet, begin to fall. Every morning you collect what fell overnight. This continues for 6 weeks. The suppression mechanism, falling, staining fruit, creates liability in urban landscaping. Nurseries defaulted to fruitless mulberry, a sterile ornamental producing neither mess nor harvest, and the fruiting variety exited mainstream inventory. The correct move, source Illinois, everbearing as a grafted tree, zones 5 through 9, self-fertile. Plant where dropped fruit is acceptable. A lawn area away from paving. The bottom line, Morus alba, ex rubra, Illinois. Everbearing produces a 6-week harvest in zones 5 through 9 in partial shade, and it was removed from nursery inventory not because it stopped fruiting, but because the fruit falls on the ground and stains. Mulberry gives you a 6-week midsummer harvest even under dense canopy. But there is one position this list has not addressed: cold, acidic, permanently damp ground under northern forest, in zones 3 and 4. The next plant was built by evolution for exactly that corner. Plant number 10 is Vaccinium vetusidea corale, the lingonberry. A compact evergreen ground cover producing 2 crops per year, documented by Oregon State University Extension with commercial field yields of 2 to 15 tons per acre in Pacific Northwest trials. The mistake most gardeners make is confusing lingonberry with cranberry and assuming it needs a bog. It does not. Corale, a German cultivar with the RHS Award of Garden Merit, grows as a dense 8 to 10 inch evergreen mound in acidic, well-drained soil in zones 3 through 8, hardy down to negative 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Picture this. You have an area under pine trees where the soil is acidic, the light is dim, and nothing commercial will grow. Lingonberry runs on soil pH 4.0 to 6.0, the conditions that make your pine-shaded corner hostile to everything else. Year 1, dense mat of small, glossy evergreen leaves. Spring, white bell-shaped flowers. Summer, first crop of bright red berries. Autumn, a second crop. Year 3, the mat is spread, harvest doubled. No irrigation, no fertilizer, no pruning. The nursery suppression is straightforward. Lingonberry takes 2 years to establish and never looks exciting in a garden center. Yet OSU Extension documents commercial field yields of 6.6 tons per acre on average in Oregon trials. Hartman's Plant Company documents red pearl yielding 1 pound per square foot in established plantings, an extraordinary figure for shade-grown fruit. The correct move: plant corral with red pearl for improved cross-pollination. Amend soil with sulfur if pH is above 6.0. Mulch with pine needles to maintain acidity. The bottom line: Vaccinium vitis idea. Corolla produces 2 crops per year in zones 3 through 8 in the most hostile acidic, shaded conditions on this list, yielding up to 1 pound per square foot, and it has never appeared on a mainstream nursery shelf because it takes 3 years to look impressive. Lingonberry covers the cold acidic corner with an evergreen producer that never needs replacing. Every plant so far is available through specialty nurseries. The final plant exists entirely outside that system. A North American native so fragile it has never been sold commercially. Plant number 11 is Rubus parviflorus, the thimbleberry. A native North American cane fruit hardy to USDA Zone 3, documented across the forests of the northern United States and Canada, in full to partial shade, producing bright red fruit described universally as more intensely flavorful than any commercial raspberry in existence. The mistake most gardeners make is never hearing about thimbleberry at all. It does not appear at nurseries. It has no commercial presence. The reason is the same reason it is worth growing. The fruit is so delicate it falls apart when you pick it, making it impossible to ship, sell, or display. One purchase from a specialty native plant nursery, and you have a spreading cane fruit producing fresh berries in forest shade for decades. Picture this. You have a shaded woodland edge where the light drops to almost nothing in midsummer, a spot other gardeners have written off. Thimbleberry spreads by underground rhizomes to fill that space over 2 to 3 years, forming a low thicket of large maple-like leaves. In early summer, white flowers appear. By late June, clusters of soft red berries ripen along every stem. You pick them carefully. They do not hold their shape, and eat them immediately. Richer than any cultivated raspberry. The suppression angle is total. Thimbleberry has no commercial future or present. It exists entirely outside the nursery system. Hardy to zone 3, cold tolerance documented below -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Victory Seed Company and specialty native plant nurseries carry it. Plant under genuine canopy shade in zones 3 through 9. The bottom line: Rubus parviflorus produces intensely flavored summer fruit in full shade in zones 3 through 9, and it has never appeared at a mainstream nursery because its fruit is too fragile to survive the supply chain. The exact same reason it is still waiting for the gardener willing to find it outside the system. The best garden uses every inch of what you have, including the corners the nursery told you to give up on. Amelanchier alnifolia. Regent for zones 2 through 9. Ribes nigrum Ben Sarek for zones 3 through 8. Prunus cerasus morello against your north wall. And Rubus parviflorus means waiting in your deepest shade. The variety is everything. Not serviceberry, Regent. Not currant, Ben Sarek or Rovada. Not a seedling pawpaw, KSU-Atwood. Subscribe and hit the bell. Watch the next video on screen.